I've played through the post-Valencia 2 content about 5 times now, and I do worry about the future of the game sometimes. My make or break video, which, very surprising to me, became very popular, detailed my concerns with upcoming updates to Pirate 101. One thing I forgot to mention was that I believe a good alternative to fixing the issues with the post-VA2 content is to make it side content. The difficulty is too challenging for mainline content. I already think Valencia 2 was pretty tough, but having basic Armada mobs access to Overwatch 5 is too challenging for a questline you are required to do. I hate to admit this, but every time I go through the post-VA2 content, I find 5 to 10 bugs I haven't seen before. Some players like myself will stay to the end of Pirate. What I worry is that most other players wouldn't. While grinding Slade Summer Showdown, one of the best feelings I had was the realization that old players came back to Pirate for the event. I worry that those people won't stick around if the new content is the way it currently stands. There are still reasons to do the areas even if they are side content. It's still nice to do the areas, especially on at least one pirate per account. The gear is really worth obtaining, so that's a plus. Pirate also technically does not have any long-term side areas or worlds. Grizzleheim and Wintertusk are not required to do, but it is still pretty worthwhile to knock them out. The same can be said for Sinbad through Zigzag. Not to mention that if you cared enough to read the dialogue, the issues with the story are kind of solved. In Sinbad Part 3, we learned the crystal stating that we should abandon the map pieces to El Dorado was a lie to deter us. In Tartarus, we learned that a necromancer was responsible for it. And in Zigzag, we learned that the necromancer is named Oksana. All of this is cool, but it is not required to know. One common response I have heard when discussing the situation is, well, what about Albino and Sinbad? You get these companions in these areas, so what happens when they have voice lines and you haven't recruited them yet? This is true, but Albino has not had any voice lines after Sinbad Part 2, and Sinbad himself was voiced by Hocules, the old community manager for Pirate. Because of his departure, KI no longer has a voice actor for Sinbad. This means that they cannot have any voice lines for Sinbad in this new update. And it's not like KI has never done something like this before. For any whiz old heads out there, when Celestia was first announced, there were a few pre-quests you needed to do. This is where the infamous warehouse dungeon in Marleybone was introduced. Gladrocker's Wizard 101 Iceberg talks about this.
By the way, at first KingsIsle made this pre-quest optional due to community feedback, meaning that too many players complained about how difficult it was. And then they altogether retired it, most likely because it didn't make sense anymore to retrieve the Celestia Spiral Key from a warehouse if it's not required to enter the world.
I think a similar path can be accomplished with Pirate. You can still choose to do the side quests to explain why we are returning to Valencia for the map pieces, but not force players to do so. With Mordecai recently announcing that Sinbad through Zigzag will now grant XP as the level cap increases, my expectation is that they are fully devoted to keeping these areas as mainline content. If that is the route they choose to go, then they should really consider polishing them up. If they choose to polish these updates, it will take time and resources, and KI does mention quite often how they don't have a lot of time and resources to work with. If a new player is excited to continue the pirate journey back to Valencia Part 3, then they are required to do these areas. The problem is that because these areas are so unpolished and rushed, I worry their enthusiasm for the update will dissipate and decide to not continue playing.